afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your closing bell for Friday, July 1st, 2022. Bring on the weekend. Bring on July. Bring on the 4th of July weekend. Hot dogs, Joey Chestnut, UFC, Premier Lacrosse, CFL, MLB. We got you covered on all these platforms and much, much more. Welcome. It's been a busy week. As I just stated, Andrew McGinnis talking CFL and started the week off 1-0 with us. We had Zaid Hussein make his UFC debut live in Vegas. He was actually at the Wynn, getting ready for T-Mobile in the weekend. Our friend, our good, longtime friend, Dan Alexander, as we got 5 minutes into our Premier Lacrosse show, and poof, they pulled the plug in PA and no power. We had some problems with that last year, but he retweeted his plays. We might have a little show tomorrow after our breakfast banquet. We're not sure. Day baseball going on, and it's funny. I had no skin in the game in the Red Sox as they get out to a 4-0 lead. But I'm thinking out loud to everyone that had the Red Sox first five minus the hook as Rich Hill gets hurt. And it's 4-3, second and third, 2 outs, and a bomb to center field, but was caught. Sox win the first five, 4-3. Now currently up 5-3, bottom of the sixth. And in Canada Day today, it looks like the real Berrios showed up as Corey Kluber started well and is not doing well. 5-1 Jays, bottom of the third there. Full slate to talk about for the ECSI VIP crew. Couple days off to lick our wounds as we have had no luck at all. And as I sat here watching the first night and I talked about 2 games, and I talked to Riley about this. We talked about the Marlins, and they get a 2-out, 2-strike, 2-run homer to win that game in the ninth. And then we talked about the Guardians, who had a 3-0 lead, then 3-3, then down 6-3 in extras. And they miraculously score 4 in the bottom of the 10th with a 2-out walk-off with Naylor. And but that's baseball. There's no crying in baseball. And for some of the people, they just can't handle it. So adios. There's the door. Start stepping. Baseball is one sport that when everything's going great, the birds are chirping, the popcorn vendors over here, the Cracker Jacks over here, the beer tastes so great. But when things aren't going your way, and it's a rough sport. So it's not for all, put it that way. So without further ado, we give this gentleman a morning off, and I give him a couple jabs as we were starting, as I heard him all the way from Cape Cod walking up the stairs to his office to get ready for the closing bell, and we're ready to bring him on. The one and only Mr. Scott E. Weber. Afternoon, Scott.
Mr. Jeffrey, it seems like old times. Missed you, my friend.
No, I missed you. I do. We're really cooking with Crisco here. For most people in these lanes, it's time to, pump the brakes to go to their summer cottages, to enjoy the summer, go to the beach. And for us, it's, a lot of the big companies are knocking on the door. They're getting positioned for football, and we're sitting here taking offers. We're going to big places, and we're just here to provide as much content as possible, break down the games how you see it, how I see it, what the market is saying. NBA right now is wild and crazy. These guys are getting $50 million per year for a max deal. Let me say that again. $50 million for a max deal, and there's 82 games. They're getting paid over $500,000 a game to play basketball. Now, I look at Larry Bird, I look at Magic Johnson. They're probably just shaking their heads right now. Now, listen, they're well off. Don't get me wrong. Michael Jordan, they're billionaires. I'm not saying Larry and Magic are, but the point of the matter is that whoever did the marketing for the NBA, they got over to China and these other countries, and the price of sneakers, it's comical. Listen, I'm not here to cry sour milk on the NBA. They're doing well. These guys are doing well, but it's just, I called it thievery, and that's what I think it is in a lot of cases. I miss the 80s. I miss the 90s. They're gone. But it is what it is, my friend.
Well, in comparison to contribution, right? Like contribution from guys in the Larry Bird, Magic Johnson era, and those guys that were actually pretty good compared to the guys that aren't that good today. Comparison, they're making that kind of money. I mean, nothing against a guy like Zach LaVine. I don't mean that in a mean way, in any way, shape, or form. Get your money. What they pay him $250 million for 5 years. It is Zach LaVine. And I don't mean that just to say, okay, well, Zach LaVine. Okay, well, it's not, these guys that played and contributed in super big ways. I mean, Zach LaVine wasn't even there for Chicago in their playoff runs, right? So, I mean, he was hurt most of the time. So I just think about this stuff and as opposed to think of it in terms of what they're getting paid. Think of it in terms of they better understand. Well, I shouldn't say it that way because that's not even true either. In most worlds, in most sports, and in most businesses and professions that you get involved in, the more money you make, the more responsibility you have. The more responsibility you have, the more you are required. It's a requirement to produce on a level that's better than most. And in this particular case, I'm not sure that they're going to get that. I think they're just paying what they can pay and pay what they can because that's the way the contracts are structured.
We had Brady Tinker on a couple mornings ago, and people who are not familiar with Brady is a well-known sports professional broadcaster in the Dallas area, does a lot of work with the Cowboys. I retweeted a picture that he sent me with him on the golf course with Jordan, and I think Jordan was 16 at the time. And he's good friends with Jordan. He's good friends with Mark Cuban, Jerry Jones, and he made a comment about the Live Tour. And our producer Kiefer cut the clip where he called Greg Norman a whiny little bitch. And I'm going to tell you, within 24 hours, we're up to almost 60,000 views, and the comments are like coming in 50 a minute. And I remember probably one of the greatest collapses in history, sitting on the couch with my dad at the Masters when Greg just was hitting it in the water. He couldn't do anything. I had to leave by the 10th hole. My father was in tears watching this. And Justin Thomas put a clip out today, and I am so 100% about it because people look at the Live Tour versus the PGA Tour. Everyone has a right to go and play wherever they want. And Justin Thomas's words were, guys, just be honest. I am going to play on the Live Tour because of the money. It's not because the PGA won't allow me to do this, won't be allowed to do this. Justin was honest to the fact that when I grew up, I looked at what Rory did and what he did for the PGA, what Tiger Woods did, what Jack did. Okay, they gave these guys the opportunity. It was always a dream to play on the PGA, and the PGA is giving these guys a life second to none. Now the Live Tour is coming on, 54 holes of golf, no cuts. They're offering you $1 bazillion, hundreds of millions of dollars, which gives you no incentive. So his words were, just be honest. It's all about the money. And that's like you said with the NBA and the contracts, certain slots that they have. So you can stay with our team, Bradley Beal, and make $240 million, or you can go somewhere else and make 180 or 190. So you're going to leave $50 million on the table, or you're going to suck it up and stay with the Wizards. And what's happening now in the NBA is they're taking those bags, and then after year one, they're saying, I don't want to play here anymore. And they're forcing their hand to then be traded. You can't have it both ways, guys.
Yeah, it's interesting that the manipulation of that is what drives me crazy. And it's the league that drives you crazy because of the manipulation of the players. Because there's only 10 guys on the field, right? I mean, there's 10 guys on a court. Each one of them is important because they touch the ball on after every possession. Several, meaning 1, 2, 3 guys, are super important because they're the producers. But so they think they can dictate whatever happens and how it goes. And I guess the league and the teams look at those players and those producers and they sit there and they go, holy crap, I can't afford not to have this guy, and my attendance is going to be this, and my pay, but come on, man. At some point in time, you got to have a reasonable league. You got to have these players that don't demand things every minute of every day, all the time. And I get it. It is what it is. They're freakish athletes. Don't get me wrong. They can play. Yeah, they can play. It's. I'm always amazed that how many times you see somebody that's 6'10" that doesn't play basketball. And I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, so don't think that I am. But you know how clumsy those people are. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to just have a gait and walk down the street because they've grown so fast and this and that. Let alone have somebody that's 6'10" that can sprint up and down the field, jump, pass, shoot, block out, stick their butt on somebody and push them back and sprint. I mean, being athletic at that size, that's not something that's easy and shouldn't be taken for granted because it's not an easy thing to be that big and be able to move.
Full slate. The Cubs have now tied it 5-5. Top of the fourth, Toronto still leads Tampa. What am I going to do today? I'm going to try.
Hey, you know what? Before we get into the board, I did have a topic on baseball I wanted to talk about. If you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
Let me pull my other little page up so I have my little notes. Other than my notes here. But basically what this is, I was putting together some stuff last night and I was going to write an article about it. And then I got to a point and I'm like, this would be better just to talk about it because to a degree, it'll make more sense if I talk instead of just show it. So number one, I started thinking about, I wanted to look at base runs standings. And it's important for people to understand that base runs standings are different than Pythagorean standings, and they are also different than projected standings. So base run standings are how a team has produced runs scored offensively, and how they have also stopped runs scored on pitching. Pythagorean theory is simply just offensive runs scored for the most part. Run scored. It doesn't have that much effect based off of the pitching side of it. So it's a very common tool to use for when you're trying to evaluate how a team has played. You're not projecting them to go and say, based off of what they've done on base runs, that this is what they're going to do the rest of the season. So it's an objective tool to go and say, man, this team played really well. This team has less wins than what they should have because they've been unlucky or this or that. This team's got more wins than what they should have because of this or that. So that's why you use base runs. So anyway, looking at all of that, it came to the NL East. And the NL East is very competitive currently with the Braves and the Mets. When I was doing this last night, the Mets were 47-29, and the Braves were 44-32. So it's what, 3 games, 2.5 games behind. So what was interesting is the leader on base runs is the Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves are 47-29 on base runs. And the Mets are 42-34. So That's a pretty significant gap. That's 5 games that the Braves are better than the Mets. So I started thinking, well, holy shit. Maybe this is the time to go pull the trigger on the Braves and see if they can win the division, right? Because you had talked about that with me, almost a month and a half, 2 months ago, and I told you that I didn't think that they were going to catch him, or I thought if they did catch him, it was going to be one thing to catch him, pass him, and keep it. So I started digging, and that's what I wanted to talk about, a little bit of this digging. The current line that I saw at DraftKings was the Mets to win the division is minus 190, and Atlanta to win the division was plus 160. So I'm saying, okay, you can get plus 160. That's not bad if you wanted to bet on the Braves. So I thought, well, let me see. FanDuel, what do you got? Well, FanDuel was Mets minus 165 and Braves plus 160. So kind of weird line compared to what DraftKings had. And then I looked back and I said, well, what was the odds in May? So the odd I could find on May 31st, the New York Mets were minus 320. And shortly thereafter, after the first week of June, they were minus 450. Now, there could have been a different book or whatever, but those were different sites that I was able to find numbers from. So now I'm looking at this and I'm going, okay, the value is still there if you wanted to bet Atlanta, but you're not getting the same value you were getting way back then when you and I were talking about it originally. So obviously, if you now like the Mets, this is a pretty good time to buy in on the Mets if you really wanted to do it that way. So here's the research that I came up with. Number one, the advantages that the Braves have for the rest of the season are that they're leaders of the clubhouse in the base runs right now. That's an advantage that they have, but that's not a real life thing. It just means that up to this point they've played better. And they get to play the Washington Nationals 13 more times. That is the worst team in their division. The Mets have already played them 9 times, or only get to play them 9 times. So the Mets have already played them quite a bit, comparatively speaking. Okay, that's where it ends. It ends right there, because a couple of things that caught me off guard. The Mets are 24-9 against the East. So they've played 33 games against the East. And the Braves are 15-11. They've only played 26 games. So they have to play a lot more games against the East. And one of the things that I thought was kind of interesting about some of this is the Mets are 9-3 against the Phillies. They've played them 12 times. They only play these teams 19 times. So they only got 7 games left with the Phillies. You know what? The Braves, they've played them 6 times. They got 13 more games left against the Phillies. So that little edge that the Braves had about playing the Nationals a few more times than what the Mets did, it's gone, because now they got to play the Phillies that many more times than what the Mets do. And I thought that was kind of interesting, because when you start to look at kind of how this broke down too, the Phillies, or not the Phillies, the Atlanta Braves are 25-25 against right-handed pitchers. Now, the reason that stands out to me is because, well, how do they get and be 11 games over 500? Well, that's because they are 19-8 against left-handed pitchers. Well, how many more left-handed pitchers are you going to see than right-handed pitchers in a season? Well, you're not. You're going to see right-handed pitchers predominantly more than you are left-handed pitchers. And so I said, all right, well, what are the Mets doing there? The Mets are 31-17 against right-handed pitchers, plus 14 games over 500 against right-handed pitchers. So the Mets are going to see more right-handed pitchers, just like the Braves. because there's more right-handed pitchers in baseball. They are 10-12 against left-handed pitchers. So it goes to show you that not only do the Braves have an uphill fight in fighting against Philadelphia, they're not as good of a baseball team against right-handed pitchers as the Mets are. And they're going to face predominantly right-handed pitchers. So that's another hill they got to climb. And then I started looking at it from a different level too. Do you know that the Braves are 12-8 against the National League Central? 12-8. They've played 20 times already against the Central. And arguably, and I wouldn't even say arguably, it is, they are the worst division in the National League, right? And they're not as good as the East, and they're not as good as the West. And the Mets are 7-3. They've only played 10 games against them. They got 10 more games to make up against the National League Central. There's another 10-game advantage, 10 games for the Mets. And you want to know the caveat to that? The caveat to that is Cincinnati and Chicago, the Mets haven't played yet at all. The two worst teams, the guys you want to go bang up on, except for the Pirates, because they played them a little bit, they haven't played them. 0-0 against Cincinnati, 0-0 against the Cubs. And the Braves are 5-5. That's 10 games that they get to make up against those teams. So then it came down to another one, the St. Louis Cardinals. The Mets have played the Cardinals 7 times already. They're done. I don't think they're playing anymore. The Mets are 5-2 against the Cardinals. You know what the record for the Braves are against the Cardinals? 0-0. There's 7 more games coming up now before for the Braves and the Cardinals. So I sit here and I look at it and I go, ain't no way. There ain't no way the Braves are going to beat the Mets, because the schedule influence that the Mets have in terms of an advantage at this point, because the teams they've played that has produced the record that they have, is unbelievable. Because the Braves are beating up teams that they should be beating up to catch them. And the other carrot, or whatever you want to call it, cherry on top, DeGrom and Scherzer are going to be back in the next couple of weeks. So now you're going to have DeGrom and Scherzer and this schedule, and I don't think the Braves can catch them. So my suggestion is that play it the other way. My suggestion is to hope that the Mets lose here a couple of games and hope the Braves win a couple of more games, and you can get that number to maybe under 100, or right around 100, or even money, and then go bet the Mets to win the division.
No, it's. I've been talking Braves for 6 weeks now. When all those injuries were coming, they did wake up offensively. Again, their pitching is not what it was last year. I keep harping on the fact that the GM this time of the year made some fabulous moves, added an outfield. They got some good pieces. I think Olsen's going to finally wake up. I think they're battle tested. But again, you're looking at a Mets team that, again, is at some point going to add DeGrom, is going to add Max Scherzer. I haven't even said McGrill and whoever else is hurt there. So they've sustained this, and I think you're right. Do I think the Braves don't make the playoffs? No, I think they'll find a way to get in there. But again, you're battling out west where the Dodgers are in. It looks like the Padres are in. Tatis will be back in a couple weeks. I think you're right. I think you're spot on. If you were going to grab him, you needed to grab him 6 weeks ago. You don't need to grab him now at plus 160. I still think that I want to see what the GM. I have more faith in the GM from the Braves than I do than the GM of the Mets. How's that sound?
I will tell you, the Mets aren't afraid to spend any money to go get whatever they want. If they need a bat, they're going to go buy one. If they need an arm, they'll go buy one. Now, that all being said, they still got to gel, and they still got to make it all happen. And it still all has to come together, and the baseball gods have to align. But what I didn't tell you is that head to head is going to be a big deal. They've only played 4 times, and it's 2-2, and that's where all this other stuff that the Mets have an advantage on can be totally taken away if the Braves dominate the rest of that series. So they got 15 more games to go. If they go 10-5, that's 5 games that they just right away, just boom, they move up. So, and that wipes away some of that other stuff. Man, that's a lot. There's a lot there that are pressing for the Mets. I mean, a lot.
We shall see. We shall see. Good stuff as always. I'm going to try to bring up Don Best today. Let's see how that looks up here. You get the slate rate in front of you right there. Again, Sox are down 6-5, top of the 7th. Their bullpen is showing their true colors again. And Jays up 5-1, top of the 5th. In Tampa, the slate is yours, sir.
Well, it doesn't do me any good, but I'm on Berrios today. Berrios off a game score 0. You know how I like to do that. Those guys have those really bad games. Give me the guy off of the bad game, and I'm all over it. So anyway, and his numbers matched up pretty good. What I'm having trouble with today, I'm on one game. That's it. All this crap, all this stuff, one game. Isn't that awful? But it is what it is, man.
No, it's not, because I will not lie to you. I'm on one game today, and I'm also on a team total as well. But there was one game to me that stood out. The numbers stood out. You could get in there first 5 full game run line, and then I'm on a team total. So I swear, if there's no way you're on the opposite side of me on this game, I would fall off. I'll stop the show. There's no way you're on the other side, but I'll be interested to see what is your one game today.
Well, I will be assuring you that I am not on the game you're on. How about that? Just the way you described it, I know I'm not on the game you're on. All right, so we'll break them down and I'll get to them. It's going to be a later game anyway. So, Mikolas against Falter today. Mikolas off a game score 71. He's got a game score 61 on the season. His last 7 starts, his game score 59. I think he's over his skis a little bit here, meaning that he's pitched really, really well. And I think he's at a point now where I don't trust his game score 60. I don't think he's going to pitch like an ace. Now, does that mean he's going to go out and lose? Not necessarily, but at the same time, he's also minus 140 on the road. I'm not going to go back a minus 140 on the road in that particular scenario. So, Falter, I don't think is, he's only pitched 3 times. He's got a game score of 40 on the season. His SIERA number is almost 5. Strikeouts are a little bit low. So I don't like him. But it's the number that's scaring me away for St. Louis a little bit here. And one of the things that is kind of, every team, every offense, everybody goes through whatever they go through. How many times do you see the San Diego Padres, the Cleveland Guardians, the New York Yankees, all 3 teams are going to make the playoffs probably. Cleveland maybe not, but everybody's pretty close. That's 28, 29, 30 in offense. 28, 29, and 30. Yankees, Padres, Guardians. So your stalwarts on offense that you normally want. And then you go to the top and it's Chicago Cubs, Milwaukee Brewers, and Toronto Blue Jays. And you sit there and go, holy crap, right? The Cubs are one of the best offenses in baseball. So anyway, you have to sometimes really look at these and kind of get an understanding of where you're at. And I didn't think there was a big enough edge. St. Louis is number 9 on offense. Philadelphia is number 10. Mikolas certainly could be a pitcher that could handle that Philadelphia offense. But I'm not going to go bet 140 to minus 140 to find out. I want to bet 100 minus 140 because I think there's an edge. And I'm just going to say no. Now, you might be the one. You might be on that one. I don't know. I don't mind it if you are. Philadelphia is one of those teams without Harper. That's I think a shell of itself. But anyway, Rodgers and Gray. This is the one that really bothered me. When I put my numbers together, I'm like, how in the hell can Gray, and I know he's pitching well, but how in the hell can he be a favorite? How can the Nationals be a favorite on almost anybody? Well, it's because Rodgers is that bad. Now he had a good game the last time out. He threw a game score. No, it wasn't the last time out. It was the time before that. He threw a game score of 50, which is average, but for him that's been pretty good. His season, his game score total is a 42. For the last 7 games, it's a 35. But what bothers me about backing Gray and is that the number is starting to get up there. I think the number is minus 135, 140, something like that. And that's the Nationals are minus 135, minus 140. So I sit there and go, oh my God. And again, this is a team that has struggled to hit. But as I tell you, they struggled to hit. They're 5th in baseball currently, and Miami's 27th. So you got a pretty big spot advantage on offense. And then here's where the problem array happens. Gray was a game score 68 the last time out. He's a game score 67 in his last 3. He's a game score 53 for his last 7. I think he's a game score 53 kind of pitcher right now. Can he be an ace? I think he can be. I don't think he's there yet. So that means to me he's in regression mode. Rodgers is off a game score 39. Even though he's off of 39, his game score for the season's a 42, and he's pitched against Miami already, against the Nationals, and he threw a 61. So he doesn't do poorly against that team. So I think that the better team is the Nationals with the better pitcher tonight. But I don't know that it's actually going to play out that way based off of the situation where Gray hasn't had a bad game here for like 4 in a row. So then you got Atlanta and Fried, and this is a big number. Fried has to cover a big number on the road. It's not that often you see him over minus 200 on the road, and he's one of them. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball. I'm not going to tell you that he's not in the top 10 of baseball pitchers, because he is. He's got a Sierra number today, 280. xFIP at 259. Those are strong numbers. He has done well. He's got an xWOBA number of 293 against the Reds. Now they don't play each other as often as you might think, but this is really Mike Minor's first time ever facing Atlanta. And when you look up his numbers and you start looking at what he's done, he's pitched against every team except Atlanta. So this is the first time he's ever pitched against them. And he's off a game score 17.
Didn't he come up with Atlanta, didn't he?
Yeah, at the beginning, Mike Minor, but he went to Kansas City and played there for years. So it was one of those spots that kind of surprised me that he never had pitched against Atlanta. But whatever. Here's your shot, buddy. Good luck. You got Fried on the mound. But Atlanta's number 23 in offense. Cincinnati's number 11 in offense. Now they haven't been facing the quality of opponents that Atlanta has. So I think there's just too much on the road. When I was looking at the numbers on the run line, it was like minus 165, minus 170, minus 180. Like I'm not going to go in there at that number, even just on the run line. Not let alone a first 5 number that's probably in that same ballpark or higher. So I left that one alone. This next one is Burns and Contreras. This is a good pitching matchup. I've been telling people about Contreras. Contreras is pretty good. Now, his metrics aren't that good today. He's a 4.74, 4.66, and that's not going to get it done against Milwaukee. It's not going to get it done against Burns. 292, 286. Burns is pretty good. Burns is on WAR numbers and RA WAR projected numbers. He's the best pitcher there is. He's that good. So he's a top 5 pitcher. Contreras, not a top 5 pitcher, not a top 10 pitcher, but a kid that's developing and throwing 100 miles an hour, getting there. But again, you're going to run into that bigger number. Milwaukee is number 2 in baseball and hitting, and Pittsburgh's 14. So there's some discrepancy there, meaning that, discrepancy is variance between the two teams, 1-2 and 1 at 14. But I'm just going to leave it alone. I think it's too much number to try to get involved. You got to do it by 1.5, and I'm just going to stay away from that one. Keller, did we ever figure out who he's pitching against today in Detroit? Because
they have flip-flopped it 3 times. It's hilarious because it was Fado. Okay, it goes from Fado, and as we started the show, then it was Bo. What's Bo's last name?
I know who you're talking about. Yeah, Risky.
And now they just faced and posted Pineda. Okay, so I'm telling you, they went from Fado to Bo when we started. Now they're up to Pineda. That's where they are.
Well, what I can tell you on that game is Detroit's the 16th best hitting team in baseball right now. Kansas City's 13th best. But Mr. Keller's not very good. If I don't know what the number is, I can't put a line out because they kept flip-flopping guys and stuff, so I just left it alone. But I'm going to guess Detroit's probably small favorites. And you're I don't want to tell you you're taking a flip of a coin here, but you probably have the better pitcher in Detroit unless it's Fado. And you said it was Big Mike, right? So if it's him, then I'm okay with, if you wanted to bet Detroit. Cole and Savali, it's an interesting matchup. Again, you're going to have to pay over 200 on the road for the Yankees. Yankees number 28 in offense, Cleveland number 30 in offense. I've been saying it for, a couple of weeks now, how I think that the Yankees are fooling everybody on their offense. They score runs, don't get me wrong, but they don't score runs because they go out and get 15 hits. They get a walk and a homer. They get a walk, an error, and a homer. They score 3 runs off 1 hit. That's kind of what they do. And situationally, that's been good. Their pitchers have kept them in the games. But it's all about scoring runs in baseball. So it don't matter really how you get there unless you're in the playoffs and need to get goddamn hits. So we'll see how that plays off for the Yankees in the playoffs. But Savali, he's coming back from injury, and I think this is his 3rd time that he will have started. Where is my number? Is it his 3rd time or his 4th time? It's his 3rd time. He threw a 58 his first time out and a 34 this time out. But I will tell you, he's no match for Cole if Cole is on, right? Cole is a 2.69 xFIP. 2.69 Sierra number, 2.90 xFIP number. He's got 11.83 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's got a 0.94 whip rate. So he's not allowing any, let one guy on base per 9 innings. And Savali is a batting average against a 342 and a 1.89 whip rate. So he's at a big disadvantage here, but that line gives you that big disadvantage, so I'm not playing it. This is the game I'm on, Jeff. I'm playing Arizona and Colorado. I'm playing, this is Kelly against Senzatella. Now, game score-wise for the season, Kelly's a 54, Senzatella's a 43, so I got a better pitcher here. And what I really like is the fact that Kelly's off a game score 46, Senzatella's off a game score 43, but Senzatella for the season is a game score 43, so that's an average start for him. Kelly's off of 46. His game score for the season is a 54, so he should do better. Even in his last 7, it's a 52. His last 3 is a 53, so it's kind of that offset to keep that number where it's supposed to be. So I think he's going to pitch good. And if I go to my situational analysis here of those guys, what stands out is a couple of things. He's pitched 15 games. In the 15 games, Arizona's 7-8. That's not good, but I mean it's reasonably in every game. Against Colorado in his last 5 starts, they're 4-1. He's 4-1, so that's pretty good. And he's thrown 30 innings, gave up 26 hits. He's got 10 walks, 2 home runs against him. I say that because I'm betting against Senzatella's luck. Let me say that the right way. So Senzatella has pitched 5 games, his last 5, 28.1 third innings. He's given up 41 hits, 41. But he don't walk that many guys. He's walked 6, and he's given up 2 home runs. So the 41 hits are like a huge deal. I mean, that's a ton. So if you look at it, flip it over to the other side and go, okay, well, what does that turn out to be? Ex-WOBA number 377 against Senzatella. His strikeout rate is low. His batting average against 336. 166 is his whip number. 1.66. And we know he's not walking guys, so they're all getting on base because they get hits. So the question then becomes is, can Arizona take advantage of that? Well, I'm not so sure. They are 24th in offense. That's not very good when you got 30 teams and you're 24th in offense. But Colorado is 22nd, so I didn't think there's much difference there. The difference is on the mound. So Arizona is projected to be a couple of wins better than Colorado at the end of the season. And you got a better pitcher in Kelly than you do in Senzatella. And you're a dog. So I took Arizona as small dogs as my play, my one and only play today, because every one of these games that I try to get into, like, okay, I like Houston against the Angels today, but Javier's off a game score 92. Okay, I know what that means. That means I'm going to skip him today. That doesn't mean he's not going to go out there and throw well, but he's not supposed to throw well off of that. So then you have Baltimore, Minnesota. Okay, I like Minnesota. I like Ryan. I don't like Watkins for Baltimore. Watkins pitched the best game he pitched all season. So why aren't you going to go bet on Minnesota, Scott? Well, because Ryan is now making his 4th start from coming back off of injury. And in those 4 starts, he's got a game score 40. That's not very good. So he's been getting hit. So I don't want to deal with that. I do like Gonsolin tonight. But at the same time that I tell you I like Gonsolin tonight, you seen the line? I'm not going to go there either. That's a pretty big number that you have to do. And I get it. Snell's not the Snell that he was when he pitched for the Rays. He's certainly not Cy Young guy. He can be in certain starts, and he's pitched relatively well against the Dodgers. That said, I'm not going to go there. You know, I hate Caprillion, and I think anybody in the world, you should be betting against Caprillion every time you play. But I don't like Gonzalez, so I'm not going to support that one. And then you got Lynn and Cobb, 2 guys that are both coming back off of injuries. So I'm leaving all of that alone. So that's how I saw it. That's what I did. And I guarantee you're not on Arizona tonight.
I looked at it. It's funny because I'll tell you where we are today. I sifted through the Rebel and the Madness. We're coming off a couple of days off. Did give out some winners 2 nights ago with Riley. They were both walk-offs, and it was hilarious. But again, the VIPs have had a few nights off. I went right to something that you leaned, but you didn't like the number. I looked, I digged, I sifted. I came up with the Cardinals. First 5 was minus 105, minus the hook. I'll take the edge with Mikolas. I'll take the lefty factor with the Phillies there. So we have that for the first 5. I went back in full game. They're giving you plus 115 on minus a run and a half. And again, I'll take my chances with the St. Louis offense in the St. Louis back end versus the Phillies back end there. So we got a minus 105 first five, plus 115 full game there. And the other tidbit that I sprinkled, there was a couple games that I looked at. I liked Seattle. I fade Caprillion. I was going to go Seattle team total over 4.5. That was plus money. Looking at a team total of 8, Scott. So what are you telling me that Seattle gets to 4 today, and Caprillion and Oakland score 2 or 3? I mean, they had a nice bloodbath back and forth yesterday. Gilbert got his 9th win, thank God. So stayed away there. I like Ryan. I can't get in there. I like Javier. Can't get in there. Obviously not going in front of Cole. I was on the other side. I liked Keller versus Fado. I didn't like Keller versus Bo Brisky. I don't like him against Pineda. I too like Gonsolin. I like the run line. I like the Dodgers last night. I talked about them. I can't go against. I'm not going in at minus 170.
Right.
So now you got the run line. And does that Snell that you're talking about, Cy Snell, who pitches good against the Dodgers? I stayed away there. I did like Arizona. I did. I left them on the desk. I like where your eyes are there. I knew you'd say good matchup with Burns and Contreras. Vegas is making a statement. The only way I could get in there is Milwaukee full game minus a 1.5. It's an under over 7.5. No, thank you. Atlanta, Cincinnati. I went to bed last night and that was minus 250. I'm like, holy shit, is Vegas making a statement here? I got in early. I know some spots are different because I talked to a few clients. I got Cincinnati. I'm sorry. I got the Braves team total over 5.5, minus 138. I think they get to a touchdown. Do they get the extra point? I don't know. I don't care. I just need the touchdown. So anyone that can get a 5 and a hook, I suggest you take it. If your shop is 6.5, obviously don't bother there. And I was the same way as you. Rogers is not the Rogers of last year. Talked to a few people. They like the Nats today. They like the fact Vegas has got a minus 125, 127. Gray has been pitching good. I'm not saying anything against him. I can't back a team that's quit. And maybe Rogers wakes up and has one of those Roger days. I wouldn't take it. I'm fading. I stayed away there. But usually Friday night, you see a bunch of games, Scotty. I'm the same as you. I'm glad we're both the same way here today. We took our one and done plus our team total. Actually, first 5 full game, both run lines, and the Braves team total there. See if I can get out of this page for us now. And my mouse ain't doing it. But closing thoughts, sir.
Well, we talk about a lot of things, and I talk about the same stuff because consistency in this sport is important. Now, not necessarily at the start of the season versus anything more than in the middle of the season versus at the end of the season. You have different time slots for things. But teams go on runs, pitchers go on runs, offenses go on runs, support all that stuff. Stay focused on trying to have the best offenses play the worst offenses and find a pitcher that can hold up, and you're going to win games. I mean, it's just the way it is in baseball. Now, I don't want to call it that simple because it isn't that simple, but I mean, that's kind of the formula that are consistent, that you can find a track record to run on. I would also tell you that, the numbers are going to get worse. They're not going to get better. Some of these teams are going to start tanking. I shouldn't say tanking. That's the right word. Some of the teams are going to give up, and some of them already have. But there's going to be more. And as the more give up, pay attention. Jump on it fast, because you're going to have 3 or 4 games window where you can capitalize on some of these teams that just say, okay, we're done. We're done trying right now. We're not going to make the playoffs. We're this far out. We're not going to get there. So today's the day. We're not going to get there. Right. So be careful of the teams that have quit trying, that then at the end of the season bring up a whole bunch of kids and aren't the same team, because that team is different. That team might not be as athletically sound as the team that was there before, but they got some grit and some shit. They want to show what they can do, and that team will bite you on the patootie. So you be careful there. So as you start to narrow this thing down, and you start working on your football and your baseball together, you're going to be limited on baseball because there's going to be opportunities that aren't there anymore that used to be there. And you're going to be doing a lot of studying on football. So just be careful what lanes you get in out there.
Our buddy SoCal D-Gen, who I think is battling COVID. I hope you and your family's doing great out there, kid. I've been battling some shit myself the last week. Woke up this morning and it's still here. So we're battling with you. His MLB trend of the day. The Mets are 19-0 straight up. Last 19 games as favorites off a loss. Bassett was scratched due to COVID. David, don't call him Norm Peterson, will start for the Mets. The Mets right now are currently minus 185 at Jazz, 179 at South Point, 172 at Westgate and William Hill. So obviously a little too steep for my blood. I don't know if anyone wanted to get cute and play the run line there or whatever, but that was
Otto is number 30 on the board today.
So he could be on to something if you guys want to jump on the Mets. If you're a parlay guy, put them in on the money line with a couple other chalk sandwiches or whatever, or goof around with some run lines there. It's an under-over of it's a 9. So Mets probably going to get you at least 5, maybe 6 today. So take a look at that. For me, it's very simple. July 1st has entered the building. The dog days of summer are officially here. We got this weekend and next week. Actually, what do we got, Scott? We got next week and then the All-Star break, correct?
When is the All-Star game? Is that what you're asking me? Because I don't know. I know
it's in LA.
I know I have voted once compared to all these other guys that have voted 8 million times. And I know how that works. You're supposed to be able to vote 8 million times.
Actually, we got 2 more weeks of baseball. We got this weekend. We got next week. I'll be potentially in Vegas on the 9th. But you have that full week? Or is it the All-Star break on when's the game? The 13th?
I am schedule scrolling right this second. Bah, 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 bah.
It's on a Tuesday. So I think it's the 13th.
Oh, holy cow. That is not the one I want to use. Some of these websites I go to and I'm like, yeah, that's the one I want. And then it's the wrong one. Let's see. Schedule. Oh, come on, man. Why are you guys doing what you're doing to me? This is not it. Go to my favorite one for schedule. Here we go. This will give me what I want.
I'm going to say Tuesday the 13th is the All-Star game.
Let's see. 13th. The 13th we have plenty of baseball.
Okay.
So let's see. Let's go.
It's going to be the following week then? Is that late?
So there are no games scheduled. So the All-Star break ends and they come back to play on July 21st. So you have Wednesday, the actual All-Star game is Tuesday, July 19th.
Okay.
At 8 o'clock. So you got that day off Wednesday. So Monday will be the home run derby, right? The 18th.
And the game will be
official day before that will be Sunday, the 17th or whatever will be probably the last full slate of games before the All-Star break. Yeah, there they are.
Okay, so All-Star break, home run derby Monday, All-Star game Tuesday. They used to come back with a couple games on Thursday, full slate on Friday.
Well, they've got so Wednesday. There are no games on Thursday. There are 6 games on Thursday, full slate on Friday.
Good.
And I don't know if that's like, and it's weird. So like the Yankees played in Houston yesterday, right, for a 1-game series and went and flew out. So Thursday, July 21st, the Yankees are in Houston playing a 1-game series, and then they fly out to Baltimore right after that.
Aren't they having a game in Iowa again this year too?
Yeah, I think that's what is that called? The cornstalk. What is that thing called? Build it and you will come game or whatever.
Field of Dreams.
Yeah, that is. I thought that was like St. Louis and Chicago or something like that. The Cardinals Cubs game, and I think that is scheduled for sometime in August or September.
Okay. So everyone, I guess where I was going with this, guys, very simply is this: is you have to make the decision. You guys, you gals, you're all adults. Hopefully, you're all adults. Uh, um, and baseball is not for everyone. Uh, I'd be lying to you. I mean, I'm as straight as arrow as they come. We have been as cold as ice in baseball, and it's been because hey, when you lose 8-0, wrong side. There's nothing about it. But the games and how we've been losing, you only so many times can say right side, wrong result, and it comes down to infield hits, pass balls, wild pitches, walk-off homers, and all that good stuff. And we just have not been on the right side. So I'm not waving the white flag. My point here, very simply, is we just tighten up the ship, we sharpen the pencil, we dig deeper, and we just keep peeling the onion back. We get a couple wins under our belt, and then we move on. We've added Canadian football to our repertoire each week. We've added Premier Lacrosse. Today we added UFC. You're getting so much content here. You can decipher it. You can ask the questions. You can reach out to us. They all cash the same. And so what I'm trying to tell you is that, the NFL and college football will be here in 2 months. Yes, it will. 2 months from now, we'll be talking about games. We'll be leading up to that in August. So I want everyone to be patient. I want everyone to enjoy the weekend. I want everyone to have some fun, have some hot dogs, have some barbecued chicken, some watermelon, some pasta, White Claws, whatever it is, pina coladas. I don't care what it is. Have some fun. Enjoy yourselves this weekend. Let myself, Scott, Riley,
Just don't blow off your fingers.
Yes. Enjoy the fireworks from a distance. Don't create your own fireworks, please. The dogs at home don't like it. So with that, always remember this. If you are investing, please do it responsibly. If you have a problem, pick up the phone. There is an 800 number, people. Ask for help. Myself and Scotty care. We want to see you here today, tomorrow, next week, next month, through 2022 and beyond. From myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, from the one and only Scotty Webb at Scott at Webby20 MLB, excuse me. We wish everyone a blessed evening. Have a great weekend. We'll be back at it sometime tomorrow morning. We'll get you set up for the afternoon and evening, and we'll see you soon.